Hello, this is Johnny Henson, Professor Poole with Billiard University out of Phoenix, Arizona. Today, I'm going to talk to you about not being a hustler. Now, not being a hustler to me, I never hustled pool, and that's a true story. And I got to share this with you from the get-go. When I was a young person, just starting out as a pool player, I won the first tournament I ever played in. I was 16 years old when I won my first tournament. It was the city championship in Big Spring, Texas. And anyway, I won the final. I ran three out of the last four racks of that tournament. But anyway, I started going down to the pool hall because that's where a lot of the better players played out of, is the pool hall. And what happened is I was down there and I started playing against people who've been playing for years. And basically they said, this kid's good, you know. And so anyway, some gentleman that my dad worked for the railroad, some gentleman at the railroad talked to my dad and he said, I'm going to tell you something right now. You need to get your son to quit playing pool because if he starts gambling with people, he's liable to get beat up. And I said, so my dad, talked to me. And so my dad said, Johnny, I don't want you to go out and start gambling because, we're not really for that. And that, and I don't want you, getting yourself in trouble. And I said, Dad, and so my dad asked me not to be a pool player. And I said, Dad, if you'll let me be a pool player, then I'll give you my word that I will never ever hustle anybody in my life. And did you know all these years later, I've kept that promise. But I'm going to share a story with you that just shows you how committed I was to that. Okay, now keep in mind, I put in entry fees in probably over 1,000 pool tournaments, and I won a lot of pool tournaments. So what I'm saying is that's not hustling. That's just putting in an entry fee, and if you win the tournament, you win the tournament. Okay. But this story is, this is also in Colorado Springs. And what happened is there's this, my old team that I played in the league the year before were playing a match. And I went down there just to hang out with them. So anyway, I wasn't playing that night because I wasn't on the team. I was just there to encourage my friends. And so anyway, I walk into this place, and this place had like six pool tables, or six or eight. And anyway, I'm sitting there, and I don't even have my stick with me. My stick's out in the car. And a gentleman walks into the place, and he says, I want to play for some money. Is there anybody here that's kind of a money player? He's asking the bartender. Well, the bartender basically said, well, that gentleman over there, his name's Johnny Henson. You definitely don't want to gamble with that guy. He's probably definitely one of the best players in Colorado Springs, and he's probably one of the best players in the state. So don't mess with him. But there's other people around here. If you want to, play for some money, they'll probably play you. Well, I kind of wish the guy wouldn't even have said that because it's just almost like the only person he wanted to play was me. So he came over and he says, I hear you're a money player, and I'm a money player. So why don't we go over here and get on this table and play for some money? And I told him, well, no, I really don't want to do that. I'm not really here for that. So, thank you, but no thank you. Anyway, well, he kind of went back to the bar and, loud enough where a lot of people could hear it, saying, well, that guy's not that good of a shooter, because if he was really a good shooter, he'd be willing to play for money or whatever. And so anyway, my friend was sitting at the table, and he said, Johnny, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I don't really want to play this guy for money. He don't have no chance against me, And he said, well, what are you going to do? You're going to listen to this, or are you going to play him? And I look at it as kind of like the old, back in the old West, getting called out in the street for a gunfight. I didn't want to do it, but I was kind of forced into it. So anyway, so I go up there and I tell him, well, you want to play for some money? Okay, well then you've got me, okay? So anyway, I said, what do you want to play for? And he says, well, why don't we play for 20 a game? I said, why don't we just cut to the chase? Why don't we just go 50 a game, okay? And I'll go get my stick, and I'll give you the opening break. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I'll give you the opening break. So let me just go get my stick. So I go out to get my stick. When I come walking back in the door, the rack's already racked, right? And the cue ball is, in the kitchen. And I said, okay. So I put my stick together and I said, go ahead. And he said, no. He said, I'll give you the opening break. I mean, you didn't really want to play me anyway. And I said, okay, well, just let it be known I gave you a chance to have the opening break. And he said, okay. So basically what I did is before we started, I was so mad that I didn't want to play this guy, and he kind of called me out. I turned to my friend, and my friend said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to beat this guy like he's never been beat before. I don't know if I'll ever let him shoot because I'm kind of upset. So anyway, so I got up there and I ran the first rack, $50. It's all double or nothing, by the way. So got up there, ran the next rack, 100. Next rack, 200. Next rack, 400. Next rack, 800. On the sixth rack, I ran it. He owes me $1,600. He's done nothing but rack balls, and I've been doing nothing but breaking and running. After I ran that sixth rack, he started racking the balls again, and I told him, I want to see my $1,600 on this table right now. Now keep in mind, this place had 6 or 8 pool tables, and it was league night. Okay, when I said that, everybody in the place could hear it, and I wasn't yelling. It was just that everybody quit playing when they realized this guy forced me to gamble with him. Now he owes me $1,600. I've ran 6 in a row, and he's looking at me like this deer in the headlight, the gentleman is. And I told him, I said, and then I remember what I promised my dad. I promised my dad I'd never be a hustler. So I looked at him and I said, sir, I said, you don't have my $1,600, do you? And he says, no. He said, I said, how much do you have? And he says, I got about $300. I said, you're playing somebody like me and you only have $300 in your pocket? I said, are you crazy? And he said, sir, without a doubt, he said, I think you're the greatest pool player I've ever played against. I've never seen somebody play like that. And so then the voice in my head said, you made a promise to your dad. I said, sir, what I'm going to do is I'm going to forgive the whole $1,600. You're not going to pay me a dime. I said, but you have to promise me one thing before I forgive all that $1,600. He said, what's that? I said, you have to promise me that you'll never, ever, ever ask me to play for money again. Do we understand each other? And he said, yes, sir. And so anyway, I said, and just so you know that there's no hard feelings, because I went over to the bar and I told the bartender, asked the gentleman, what are you drinking? And I don't know, he was drinking Budweiser or something. And so I said, give him 2 of those. And so I bought him a couple of beers and we shook hands. And as far as I know, we parted friends. I got more notoriety about that than probably all the tournaments I won in Colorado Springs. Because I would hear people talking about it. That Johnny Ensign, he ran 6 racks in a row on a guy, and then he forgave the whole debt because he knew the guy never belonged on the table with him to start with. And I heard different versions of the story. I bet you before it was over with, I didn't run 6. I probably ran 8 or 10 or 12. I don't know, But the thing of it is, it was fun. But that is probably the closest I ever came in my career of actually, I wouldn't say hustling somebody, but taking somebody for money. And I was glad that I was able to keep my word to my dad. And so. Those of you out there that are great pool players and you're really not wanting to go around and play for money, you're not really a hustler or anything like that, well, you know what? Join the club, because I'm not either. Anyway, good luck to you and good shooting.